everyone, welcome back to my channel. So Lunar New Year is coming up very soon, and this year it's going to be the year of the dragon, and I've been so excited for the zodiac sign to come around, not because I was actually born in the year of the dragon, but because I expected brands to come out with these amazing, extravagant collections to celebrate the holiday. And I have to say, some collections really did impress me, but there were some brands that I thought would come out with some great designs that ultimately just completely let me down. So for this video, I actually rounded up a bunch of designer and luxury brands, Lunar New Year specific collections, and I wanted to share my thoughts on which ones are the best and the worst of the year. And as you watch this video, I am very curious. Let me know your thoughts on which you think are the best collections, which you like and you would consider buying, and which they should have not released at all completely. Yeah, so without further ado, let's get into this video. Okay, so I'm going to be referring to my laptop throughout this video because there is a ton to cover, and because of that, I won't be mentioning prices. Talking about the prices of over 100 items is going to take up way too much time, but what I will do is I'll link in the description box down below links to these items as well as the landing pages to these collections, so you can click on those links and find out more information if you're interested in them. And with that out of the way, let's start with a few non-dragon specific collections first. And the first one I want to talk about is from Moynat. So they decided to go with a few different images as part of their theme. So they have some mahjong tiles, they have persimmon fruits as well as peanuts. And I love everything in this collection so much. Of course, for the mahjong pieces, they had to have the 8 tiles, and they also have the prosper tile in there too. So definitely a very lucky thing to hang on your bag. And also they have their dual BB bag, which is so adorable with the persimmon fruits on it. And I actually tried to get that bag, but it got sold out so fast, and it was during pre-order too. So even though I tried to pre-order it, I couldn't even get my hands on it. Even though it's not dragon specific, I still think that they did a really good job with this. So next up, let's talk about the Loewe collection. Now this one, I would say the theme is jade. So they came out with this, I believe it's a new size of their flamenco bag. So it's the flamenco purse mini, and then they did these donut chains as well as charms. And the colors are supposed to be inspired by colors of jade. But unfortunately, not all of these pieces that look like jade are actually made out of real jade. So the bag charms and the chains are actually, I believe it's some type of resin material, but then inside the bags, you do get this ring of real jade that matches the color of the bag. So this is the part of their Lunar New Year collection that is more readily available for purchase around the world. But then they also have something that is way more limited in quantity, and I believe you can only get them at a few select stores in China. So what they did is Loewe collaborated with 3 different master jade carvers to create these jade pendants. One of them chose to carve a cricket sitting on top of a cabbage or bok choy, and then another one chose to do an eggplant, and this is a purple jade, so it makes sense that they did an eggplant. And then the last one did a pea pod with a snail perched on top. They definitely look much better than those fake jade bag charms that Loewe also did. It'd be great if they, you know, just completely stuck to real jade for this entire collection. I think it would be way more unique and probably a lot more desirable for people too. And then next up, this one is probably, it's the worst, I will say. Yeah, definitively I will say it's the worst Lunar New Year collection I saw this year, because there is just no creativity to this whatsoever. And I'm talking about the Burberry Lunar New Year collection. It is just a bunch of stuff in red, either with their plaid pattern or some type of rose pattern. The clothing is either super basic or just plain ugly. Who would wear this? And I love roses, but I don't know why they picked a rose. I feel like they could have gone with something that was a more meaningful flower for the countries that celebrate Lunar New Year, instead of going with something so generic. It just gets worse the more you look at this collection. It is so bad. And yeah, these are all of the collections this year that aren't dragon specific. So now let's talk about all of the dragon themed Lunar New Year collections, and there is a lot. So for this part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the collections from the more affordable contemporary designers first, and then I'll move on to the luxury designers towards the end of the video. So first, let's talk about Coach. So their dragon design is probably one of the best out of all of the ones on this list. It's so intricate. All the details are amazing. They even put hints of gold foil around the dragon on their Rogue bag. The outlet actually does have a wider selection compared to their full price retail stores, which is also a strange choice in my opinion. It seems like they almost tried harder on the outlet pieces. At the same time, I also like how they made it accessible to everyone. So next I want to talk about Kate Spade, followed by Kate Spade's outlet, which they actually took a different approach to Coach. So the Kate Spade stores as well as their outlets, there's actually a different design for the dragon at both. I actually really love the jewelry that they put in this collection because it's so pretty because they have these little pearl details in it, and the dragon is basically like wrapped around the pearls. So it's a very cohesive design. The bag as well as the sweater, it's pretty forgettable. The bag charm, however, is probably the worst one in this collection. I personally think it just looks so scary. And then moving on to Kate Spade's outlet. So like I said, Kate Spade decided to go with a different design for their outlet store. So what they did is actually really interesting because they decided to go with a blue backdrop for their dragon pattern or print. And you know, most of these brands, they usually go for like red or gold, something of the sort. So having this light blue background is very interesting. I think they did a really good job with this. And then let's move on to Strathberry. And I think they actually have a very similar kind of design as the Kate Spade one, or the Kate Spade outlet specifically, I should say. So it's a printed dragon and floral design. So they came out with a twilly, a card holder, and their crescent chain bag. So for this collection, I actually think the twilly would be a great option to get. You know, it's not very expensive because it is just like a narrow silk scarf. And also I think that would look really nice tied. And I really like how the design is on the inside of the bag instead of like kind of plastered on the outside, because especially for the print pattern that Strathberry went for, it could get a little bit busy if it's like all over the outside of the bag. So that is the collection from Strathberry, and now let's talk about another brand that is British. So we have Anya Highmarch next, and they have a bunch of SLGs with this red dragon on it, and this dragon is so creepy. Like, it's the stuff you find in your nightmares, especially the pouch that they did, which is actually what I guess they intended to be dragon shaped. To me, it kind of looks like a red alligator, a very stumpy red alligator at that, like not even with like the long tail. And the thing that I feel like a lot of these collections don't get right is that this is a Lunar New Year collection, so you really have to go with the Eastern depiction of a dragon. You know, it should have this like long body, and it should kind of like be flowing and very like majestic and elegant, but also like strong at the same time. And yeah, they didn't get this right. To end this category on a high note before we move on to more like the luxury designers. So the last one that I have on my list is from Tory Burch. There's kind of like two different designs going on. So one is more of like a cartoony dragon with clouds, and then they have on their Eleanor bag, they actually incorporated this dragon into that like Tory Burch logo. So let's talk about that first because I absolutely love that, and I'm kind of really considering getting that bag myself. The rest is kind of okay. The dragon they went with outside of that Eleanor bag, I don't know. Like I mentioned for the Anya Hindmarch collection, you know, I feel like you have to go with the right depiction of a dragon. And I feel like outside of the Eleanor bag, that dragon just doesn't look quite right. It looks kind of like a cartoony dinosaur, but it's cute. I gotta say, it's really cute. And they made this kind of like dragon plushy looking bag too. Still with that kind of like cartoony dragon. But I have to say, it does look quite adorable. And these are all of the Lunar New Year collections that I wanted to talk about from these more affordable brands. And now let's move on to the more expensive luxury designers next. So first, let's talk about Ferragamo. So they have two different types of scarves as well as a tie. So for the scarves, they have their silk square scarf and then they have a twilly. So I feel like this scarf design is the best out of all of the brands in my opinion. It comes in 3 different colors and it's so intricate, and when you look at that scarf, you really can tell that they put in like Asian elements in there. I would say get the square one instead of the twilly. It just shows off the dragon more. And then the tie is not as unique and as special as the scarves, but I still wanted to mention it anyways because there's not that much that is made specifically for men with these collections. So the tie is also available in 3 colors. So it's available in red, blue, as well as yellow. And then moving on to Max Mara. So they have this dragon print on their clothing and the dragons on the pattern blend in so seamlessly. So if you're looking for something that you could wear, you know, beyond this year, it won't look dated in 12 months time, then maybe take a look at this. Even the styles of the blouse and the dress are definitely very classic. So then we have the brooch, which is this cute little teddy bear holding up a dragon. And this is not as wearable as the blouse and the dress is, but it definitely has its own charm to it. Yeah, I just think it is so super adorable. Not much more to say beyond that. So moving on to Delvaux, they did their cool box bag in like a special Lunar New Year edition, and they have a twilly as well as a bag charm. The twilly actually has this dragon shape to it. So on one end you have like the head of the dragon, and on the other end you have the tail. So when you kind of like wrap it around the handle, then it kind of like looks like you have like a dragon that's just like curving around the handle. I don't know. I think, you know, when you like put the entire concept together, it just looks so nice. And even the bag charm is fun too. It's also dragon shaped, and just generally speaking, I love the whiskers that they put on this dragon. Would you even call them whiskers? I don't know. That's what I'm calling it. I just think that, you know, it's like the perfect amount of like fun and like whimsicality on their pieces. And then moving on to Ferragamo, so they have bags as well as SOGs in what they're calling dragon scale. So it's like their typical canvas print, but they did it in like this blue and red color scheme, and I think this is probably my favorite color combo from the brand. So on their tote bag, it even comes with this bag charm that has this dragon tail on it, like the very tip of the tail. It's such a nice little addition. And then on the inside of the tote bag, there is the head of the dragon, and then their pouch has the dragon head on the outside. They do have some pieces, whether it's bags or SLGs, that just have that dragon scale pattern on it in that navy and red color scheme. So there's something for everyone in this collection. It just depends on, you know, how far you want to lean into that dragon theme. And then let's talk about a few disappointing ones. Get that out of the way first before we kind of end with a few good ones. So the first disappointing one that I want to talk about is from Versace. And I would have thought that Versace would have really done such a great job with this collection because, you know, like a dragon is just like over the top. And when I think of Versace, you know, that's kind of like a phrase that I would associate with the brand. But this collection, it's just lazy. To me, it seems like they just Google image searched a dragon and they took the first thing that they saw and they just slapped it on a bunch of stuff. It's not even colorful, it's just a single color. It doesn't span like the entire like usable space. It's just like a patch on the shirt. I feel like there was so much potential with Versace to make this collection like, I feel like they could have even had the best collection this year. It's just so in line with like the aesthetics of the brand. Yeah, I just had very high hopes for them, and I guess that's why I'm just like super disappointed with them. And then the other, luckily there's only one more that really disappointed me, and it's Dior. So let me first say that I'm not entirely sure if this is their Lunar New Year collection. So, you know, just there's a little bit of a disclaimer that I want to put here. But basically what I did was I searched up Dragon on their search bar on their website. And this is essentially what came up. And I kind of think like, could it really be a coincidence that this was released now? And even if it's not Lunar New Year themed, I just think this collection is absolutely hideous. So I will want to roast this anyways. So they're calling this design like a dragon zodiac design. This is kind of unrelated to just like Lunar New Year, but does everything at Dior have to be astrology focused? And if this dragon zodiac, whatever, if it's truly meant to be, you know, Year of the Dragon theme, then they're supposed to go with the Chinese zodiac, you know, have like all those animals on it, but highlight the dragon. If they did that, then great. Then I wouldn't be, you know, complaining about this collection like I am now, because, you know, like the two zodiacs are completely different. You know, they both have 12 signs, but that's about where the similarities end. And then they also have some clothing. And the dragon motif they put on the clothing is kind of like a lab experiment gone wrong. It reminds me of something you'll see in a horror movie, or like I said for the Anya Hindmarch collection, it's like the stuff that you see in your nightmares. Actually, I'd rather see that creepy dragon from Anya Hindmarch in my nightmares than this one, because this is really creepy. And to not be completely negative, Dior does have this watch out that has a dragon head like inside the face of the watch. And this does seem to be tied directly to Lunar New Year. And yeah, this is nice, very expensive, but it's nice. They should do more like this. You know, if they are capable of designing something like this, why have that hideous stuff for like the majority of their collection? Like I said, I'm not entirely sure if that is in fact their Lunar New Year collection, but if it is, it was just such a poor choice. Let's move on to Mulberry next, and this collection is with this artist. Their name is Mira Mikati. Mira Mikati, and it's kind of like with this cartoony dragon on it, and it's very cute and colorful and fun. Not everything from the collab has the dragon on it, but I will focus on the pieces that do. So there's a bag as well as SLGs and clothing, all with this dragon in various colors. And it's definitely very different from the rest of the Lunar New Year collections. Like, it's not heavily focused on red and gold. They do have like various bright colors in this collection. My only critique is that if I didn't know that that was supposed to be a dragon, I would actually think it's like some type of sea creature. It just, I don't know, that's what it reminds me of. It doesn't really look like a dragon to me. And then moving on to Fendi. So Fendi has this collab with Pokemon going on right now. So in keeping with the Lunar New Year dragon theme, the Pokemon that they have on their pieces are Dratini, Dragonair, and Dragonite, so a dragon type Pokemon. And the pieces mainly have Dratini and Dragonite on them. Dragonair only really shows up in the beaded baguette, which is one of the most expensive pieces in this collection. And honestly, anything Pokemon just sells so easily, but I have to say, most of this collection is just a picture of the Pokemon and it's like slapped on their Zuka print canvas or like a basic t-shirt or hoodie or something like that. So it's not the most creative, but you know, it's Pokemon, it's cute, it's got the dragon theme on it. I do have to say they have a few different baguettes that are made to look like the Pokemons themselves. Like it has like the facial features of the Pokemon, and those are much more creative, and those are my favorite from the collections, but I also think that those were the first to sell out. A lot of this collection is sold out at this point, but there is still a lot available just because this was such like a large collection to begin with. And I also wanted to mention that they do have some costume jewelry pieces that feature Pokeballs, so I do think that is quite adorable. And then moving on to Louis Vuitton. So I feel like Louis Vuitton always does a very similar thing year after year. So they always release a bunch of scarves in various materials and sizes with like the year's zodiac animal on it. So for example, I actually bought one of those bandos myself a few years back with the ox on it. There also is a keychain as well as a necklace that has the Vivienne like riding on the dragon. Now this dragon is different. Once again, it's not the right type of dragon. I feel like I'm really nitpicking on that detail right now. And then they also have a Nano Speedy, which has the dragon head on like one end of the handle and then the dragon tail on the other end. So, you know, when you follow the shape of the handle, it just looks like the long body of a dragon. That is probably the thing from this collection from Louis Vuitton that I love the most. And then there are two more collections that I wanted to talk about. I've definitely been talking a lot already for this video so far, so there's just two left. So first, Gucci. So Gucci always releases so much for their Lunar New Year collection. So as expected, this year they released so much as well. So there's a more classic looking dragon that has, you know, like the long body, and there's a more cartoony dinosaur looking dragon too. So they have their Dionysus bags. It's in white with these like red details on it. And where's the dragon, you ask? It's actually forming the Gucci logo at the back of the bag. So, you know, it's kind of hidden away, so it's not so in your face. But maybe they don't want to mess with like that, like the tiger kind of like lock or clasp on the Dionysus. But I feel like they could have maybe incorporated the dragon into that like Dionysus lock. And they also have their canvas bags with those cartoon looking dragons in either pink or green. And even though it's not the right type of dragon, I still think they're pretty cute. Either of these two dragon types are available in a variety of clothes as well as scarves, and the pink and green cartoon dragons are also available in SLGs and keychains too. As expected, there's just a lot to choose from, so yeah, there's kind of something for everyone in this collection. And I do think that, you know, even though in a way Gucci also just like slapped these dragons on like a bunch of their like clothing and bags and whatnot, I still feel like they put in more effort than Fendi, because Fendi really just took like the Pokemon and just like threw it on stuff. Gucci at least, you know, changed up the colors and whatnot, so they put in a little bit more effort, I have to say. And then I want to end this video with Bottega Veneta, because I feel like this collection actually like incorporates like the details of a dragon like the best. Every item does it slightly differently. So the earrings, for example, kind of like looks like the tail of a dragon, and then there are like dragon details along the borders of their Jody bag as well as their sardine bag. And then they also have this tote where, like, you know how they have their like weaving designs, so they kind of like wove different colors of leather to form the pattern of a dragon. And lastly, I just wanted to mention the sneakers too, because the sneakers kind of have like the dragon scales on them, and yeah, I just feel like they did such a great job with this. I would expect this level of creativity from like every single designer, especially for Year of the Dragon, because there is just so much you could do with this. And even though, you know, I don't personally see myself getting anything from this Bottega Lunar New Year collection, I really have to give them credit for coming up with so many unique ways to incorporate like a dragon theme into this collection. Yeah, I feel like this might be the best collection this Lunar New Year. So those are all the Lunar New Year collections that I have to talk about in today's video, and this definitely isn't a comprehensive list. There are definitely more Lunar New Year collections out there at different brands, but I hope I kind of like rounded up a good mix of them for you guys. And if there's any other ones that you really think were absolutely spectacular, please share them in the comments down below. And also let me know, what do you guys think of these collections that I discussed today? Do you agree with me, disagree with me? And are you picking up anything from these Lunar New Year collections yourself? Let me know all of that in the comments down below. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do consider subscribing for lots more content on luxury handbags, jewelry, and fashion coming up. And I'll leave 2 videos on the screen for you to watch next. So I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.